Video được Việt hóa bởi Ngọc Tân từ group tài nguyên dựng phim. Nghiêm cấm các hành vi lít về rồi bán cho thằng khác. Mọi ý kiến đóng góp xin gửi về Facebook Quỳnh Ngọc Tân.
Here's where we get into the nitty-gritty of what the heck nodes are and what they do. If nodes are intimidating to you and you just have no idea what's going on, we're going to try our best to make this a simple and easy process, and I'm pretty confident that things are going to start making sense. So let's jump into what is a node. Here is a drawing of a typical node inside of Fusion. And put real simply, a node is really just a step in a process. You can think of each one of these little boxes as do one thing. Every node pretty much just has like one major job that it does. The job could be anything from blur an image to scaling something twice its size to changing something's colors. But really each step that you do in a composite happens in a node. Now each node has at least one input and one output. What that means is that for this node to do its job, you have to connect other nodes to it. Let's say you have an image of a red ball and you connect that to the input of this change color node. What you get out of this node might be a green ball. Or if this node is a blur node, you might get a blurry red ball. One major thing is that you have to connect whatever you want this node to affect into its input, and to actually see the result, you have to connect its output into the next step. If the node isn't connected in between the things that you're trying to affect, it's not going to do anything. It can just live on this graph forever, and this red ball is still going to be a red ball. Now, some nodes have multiple different inputs. We're going to cover some of the differences, but for now, the main input for a node is yellow. So whatever you want this node to affect, you connect to the yellow input, and then whatever you're going to do with it afterward comes out of the output. So by default in Fusion, if we open up a shot from the timeline, we'll have two nodes to start out with. The first node is called Media In, and the last node is called Media Out 1. Each of these nodes has one job. The job of Media In is to grab a shot from the timeline. That's why we don't have any inputs right here, because this is a special node that just takes the shot that exists here in our edit timeline and it brings it into Fusion. Media Out is sort of the opposite. It takes whatever happens in Fusion and it puts it back on the timeline. So really what we're doing right now is we're saying pick up a piece of media, and then we're connecting it to media out, and we're saying, okay, and now put it back. It's really not doing anything. And anything that we really want to do in Fusion has to happen in between these two nodes. For instance, if we want to make this shot really blurry, we can grab a blur node from right here on our toolbar. I can grab this and drag it down. We connect our media in to the input, and we connect the output into media out. And we'll bring this down. And what will happen if we select our node here in the graph and go up to our inspector and push up our blur size is we'll get a blurry image. And we won't just see it in Fusion because we're telling this to pick up this shot from the timeline and then blur it and then put it back in the timeline. If we go back to the edit page, we'll see that our shot is blurry. Pretty cool. So that's the basics of nodes. Each node basically has one job, and you have to connect them together for them to affect each other.